while you're watching this video, please remember to like, subscribe to my channel, click the bell icon for notification of future videos, and share this video also. Thank you. Well, hello there. Welcome back to my channel, guys. Yes, so it's good to have you here with us once again. I must apologize for having been absent for so long, but only God knows the difficulties that I had this week. I must say I decided to take a break Monday and Tuesday, but I have been trying to upload a video since Wednesday, and each time I have some sort of difficulties, namely technical difficulties. Now, sorry about that, guys. Now, I'm not going to explain the what really happened, right? But I'm not going to explain what really happened because I don't want this video to be longer than necessary. But what I will say is that I have actually 2 videos recorded already. They were just to be edited and posted, right? I'm going to post one of them, the 2 of them actually I'm going to post tomorrow. One in the morning and one in the evening by God's grace, right? The Sex Talk 101 that is recorded already, I intended to post that from Wednesday and still never got to do that. But hopefully I can post the video Sunday, which I don't normally do, and because of that I'm going to post what I normally post on Sunday, which is something regarding Adventism or Old Testament believers. I'll post something, that's what Sunday slot is for, and I'll post that tomorrow right in the evening. So even though I have really messed up this week, because this week is the worst week I've ever had since the start of this year, I will be able to make up for it next week, because I'm aiming to push out at least, by God's grace, 8 videos next week. I'm really going to push myself to it in order to make up for what happened this week. So with that being said, church hurt, I recommend you watch my 3-part videos on me leaving at the Seventh-day Adventist Church if you haven't watched it already, and watch my video titled My Life When I Was a Seventh-day Adventist, also the Seventh-day Adventists and their Cult Poacher Ministry. Those videos will help you to understand the reason for my church hurt within the Seventh-day Adventist Church. That is actually the first hurt. Actually, I've actually been hurt by church twice. Now, apart from those, I'm going to recommend 3 other videos, right? And those videos are: 1, is the church lukewarm? 2, Christians and empathy, how to manage being a Christian and an empath. And 3, the challenge of biblical literacy in the world and in JA. Those 3 videos will help you to understand, give you a basis as to my second hurts, right? So if you watch those, I made those videos specifically for this video. Each of them is giving some perspective on this video, right? Give me a second, guys. Each of these videos gives some perspective on this video, so you can properly understand why I feel hurt again for a second time. By virtue of being an empath, as I would have mentioned in that video, it gets me into a whole lot of struggles because I have a sense of loyalty about myself. Yeah. So when I leave the Seventh-day Adventist Church, right, and I did what a counselor of mine told me to do, which was to visit several churches, right? And after I visit several churches, I select which one among them that I'm comfortable with by first examining the doctrines and so forth, to ensure that I am okay with the doctrines and so on, right? And he also told me to take some time for myself, go out and so forth. That was before COVID-19, as you know, it was in 2018. Go out, make friends, and take time to heal, and what else, and to basically stay away from relationship and so forth, because mentally and emotionally I wouldn't be ready for that. based on how I was feeling at the time. I went into a state of depression when I left the Seventh-day Adventist Church. So my counselor told me those necessary steps to take in order to heal and to build back a network for myself. So after I had finished visiting churches, which was about over 40 odd churches, after I visited those churches, right, I decided in myself that there are 5 among them that I am somewhat comfortable with. So instead of choosing one of them, I said to myself, no, I'm going to return to the church that I was a part of before I became a Seventh-day Adventist. So that is what I did, because I wanted to use the skills and gifts, my gifts and talents, to build up the kingdom alongside them, right, who first brought me to Christ, rather than some other church. And that is just a thing about me, a sense of loyalty, always wanting to give back and so forth. By virtue of being an empath, it comes with being an empath, right? So I did that, went back to the church, got right under fellowship and so on, and I thought everything was going to flow as how I had it in my mind. I was totally unprepared for the things that I received from the church. Now this video is not to really bash them, but it's just for you guys to understand that when it comes to church hurt is something natural that a lot of us Christians have been through, perhaps even once in our life, right? And so the aim of this video is to tell you what to do with church hurt. How do you approach the whole thing, concept of church hurt, right? What to avoid and how to actually look at the church, right? That is the aim of this video. I feel inspired to do this video, guys, because what most of the brethren from my church didn't know is that I was backsliding, right? I was backsliding in my mind, and part of what was making me backslide was basically them. They had a lot to play, right, in me almost on the verge of backsliding. Not that it's them alone, but they basically play a major role, right, in me slowly backsliding. And if God didn't stretch out his hand and rescue me, I'm going to tell you how God did that. If God didn't stretch out his hand and rescue me, I probably would have renounced Christ completely, because that was where my mind was heading. I reached a point where I got, for the first time, I got very, very, very angry with God and with Christ. I got so angry, I nearly cursed them both. Honestly, and it's because of the disappointment that I felt, and you have to try and see where I'm coming from, Remember, I've been hurt tremendously by the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And when I should have been healing, I basically experienced the same thing again. I was close to becoming, I started to doubt the existence of God at one point in time. Because I'm saying to myself, God, you brought me in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, took me from out of one church, and you allowed it to happen that I end up in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. I lost a lot by virtue of being in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Now you have enlightened my mind and pulled me from out of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And instead of using my time to basically, as many would do, build on material things, pursue material gains and so forth, I choose to use so much of my time to do of this ministry, because there are not much apologetics or apologies to the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Really, you find there are not many persons who are actually speaking out against the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And I choose to make myself one of the few who is public, right? Publicly speaking out against the Seventh-day Adventist Church in a country where they are most dominant. And what is my reward? Oppositions from a lot of professed evangelical Christians, namely the church that I went back into. Oppositions from even former Seventh-day Adventists too as well, Former Seventh-day Adventists as well are also opposing what I do. I've had some former Seventh-day Adventists, right, who basically come to me. One of them come to me and say to me that they don't think that I should be doing something like this. I should just preach the gospel. They don't think that I should be talking about the Seventh-day Adventist church and what have you, and they gave their reasons and so on, right? And when I asked that one person in particular that if it's a case that I am to stay silent and not talk about it, right? And we both know the damnable heresies and deadly doctrines of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And if the purpose if I'm not to speak out on the Seventh-day Adventist Church, what would you say is the reason for God taking me from out of a church that I'm in already, putting me into a very heretical church that caused me a huge amount of problems in my life, only to take me out and for me to be silent? What would you say is the reason for God doing that? And trust me guys, the person who said that was basically dumbfounded. They couldn't say a word. They didn't answer. I'm going to tell you, I never understood at first what was going on, but several after, and especially in this year, between the late last year and this year, I realized what is the main problem that I'm actually facing, and it is ecumenism, the spirit of ecumenism, right? That is in a lot of Christians, and that is tolerance. In short, it means tolerance, unity then among churches irrespective of beliefs. That's the type of spirit that is in majority of Christians in this day and age. And such a spirit is not supported by scripture, because we are told to basically contend, wrestle, fight for the faith that was once for all given to the saints. Jesus Christ himself said, I am not come to bring peace on earth, but a sword. The kingdom of God has suffered violence from then up until now, and the violent take it by force. The time come that the true worshipper will worship God in spirit and in truth. God is not in truth. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. Not in spirit and in error, as what ecumenism would have us believe. In spirit and in truth. But because a lot of Christians, they lack boldness, you understand, and there are few persons who could actually do what I'm doing, and I'm not doing this by virtue of boasting, No, because this boldness of mine, it only comes from God himself. As a matter of fact, when I post my Sex Talk 101, at one point in time, you'll see me stutter, right? And I'm not going to edit it, right? I stutter because I'm talking about a sensitive topic that is sensitive by my country. Things such as oral sex and so on, which is taboo, right, in my country. And I stuttered in actually even uttering it for the first time. I don't know where it come from, where that sudden 1 second fear come from, which I quickly had to rebuke. It's not easy to actually preach the word of God with boldness. I know, so I'm not taking credit for myself. It comes solely from the Lord himself. Right, guys? Many of them don't have this, and I don't know if they feel ashamed when they see me doing something like this or what. But instead of feeling ashamed, right, shouldn't you be glad that somebody actually have a spirit of boldness that can actually do something that you wouldn't do? So since you wouldn't do it, why not encourage a brother who has the courage to do it? Why not encourage a brother to have who have the courage to do it? And guys, this is just one of the things that drove me over the edge. But I'm going to get back to that, So that is the former Seventh-day Adventist individual. Let's go back to the church that I'm a part of now. The church that I went back into. Initially, even some of the elders, when I spoke about things, my apologetics and so forth, I remember an elder basically told me the very same thing. Right? That elder is no longer here with us, meaning he passed away. And I'm not bitter, because I understand the spirit of ecumenism. You could tell persons that this denomination teaches that you should worship Christ, and they will still have it that you leave them alone. Trust me, I've never been able to understand it then, and I still can't understand it now. How can you as a Christian feel comfortable knowing that a professed Christian group, would tell you that you shouldn't worship Christ, and not only do you not have the courage to condemn them, you won't even support a brother that has the courage to do what you can't do. And it's far worse than not encouraging him, It's to basically discourage him. Guys, let me try to keep my tone down a little bit because maybe I'm venting a bit. Now, let's continue to talk about them. So we talk about that elder, right? But I am sure that elder is with the Lord. He was a good Christian man, irrespective of that. I've never judged him for it or anything. He's actually a great guy, I must say. I've known him for years and so on. But he's not the only one, right? I'm going to even talk about others who basically do the same thing, right, from the church that I was a part of. Now, what I didn't know is that my beliefs and theirs differed radically, right? When I came there, I asked my pastor what the church believed, and he gave me the statement of faith. However, there were other things about the church that I had no knowledge of, like for instance, that they don't believe in wearing jewelry, right? So much so that I end up going some camp meeting with them, and man, some things happened on that meeting that I regretted going. I had lost a chain, an item of jewelry that piece of something on it drop off and lost, and it was given to me by someone, Now, if this lost, it's no big deal because I can easily buy it back. But if you lose something, right? When somebody give you something, it's precious to you, right? And I was basically even tackled for even asking about my jewelry. That was when I actually know that the church is not far up, because my pastor was even telling me that I shouldn't even wear jewelry there. And I'm like, oh my God. And at that time too, I had started seeing some strange things coming from them that never rested well in my spirit. And the day when I was to go to the camp meeting, I didn't even want to go. But I forced myself to go. I communicated that with one person, and I forced myself to go. I ended up regretting it, right? Because I went there, lost my stuff, and I was basically guilt-tripped or gaslighted then, so to speak, just for asking about what belongs to me, right? And it's all because they don't believe in jewelry, and I did not know that. That was not told to me. They also don't believe in pants, women wearing pants. And let me just say this. Several of what I would probably have discussed in this video, in my channel and up until now, I'm certain that they won't agree with it. My videos on Sex Talk 101, they might agree with some things, but I'm certain that some of what I'm going to say on it, they're not going to be in agreement with it. I'm a very practical person, and I'm very logical, a critical thinker. Anything that seem illogical, impractical, or nonsensical, it's not going to work for me, and I make no apology whatsoever for that. When I was in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, I wasn't using my brain, none at all, and it cost me for that. And as a result of that, I'm telling you this, so that you understand who the host of all things religious is. When you have felt the sting of deception, right, in the manner which I did, then you are not going to want to just accept anything like that without thinking about it. Because of the bitter experience of deception I felt, I tend to think about just about every single thing, and I think hard and critical about it, which I won't apologize for. As a matter of fact, Dr. Clinton Baldwin, a former SDA, told me before that that I'm an endangered species. He wanted me to join his church because he feared for me, right? And now I understand why. He wanted me to join because he said I am an endangered species, and the reason for that is that I'm a critical thinker. And because I'm a critical thinker, I'm going to end up in problem. I need to be around someone who can basically tolerate me, right? And man, was he right about that? When the average person will just sitting pastor and they don't even recognize what he said, not so with me. I'm listening every single thing that comes out of your mouth. Once it's something of a religious order, I can't help myself. The pain of deception that rests in me causes me to think about every single thing whatsoever, so that no one ever takes me for a fool again, as the Seventh-day Adventist Church has, right? And I'm not apologizing for that. But I cannot be a part of Dr. Baldwin's church, sadly, for many reasons. One, his church is operated on a Saturday, and while I appreciate his reason for doing such, it's a ministry geared to help Adventists to come to the truth, and the best way to get them is to have a church established on Saturday, right? Because they'll be comfortable to go there than a Sunday church immediately. It would take a lot of time for them to go to church on Sunday, right? It would take a lot of time, and so that is why he keeps it on a Saturday. But for me, whenever I'm worshiping on Saturday, it's like over time it's going to bring back some bad memories that I just can't deal with. And it's because of that why I chose not to be a full-fledged member. Right? Because I just really can't deal with the Saturday thing. And it's easy for me to worship on Sunday because I wasn't born and raised in the Seventh Day Adventist Church. I was essentially a Sunday worshiper, meaning I worship on Sunday. So it's easy for me while it's hard for some other former Seventh Day Adventists, right? So that said, I choose to reject his offer, right, in being a part of him because he feared that my ability to think is going to cause me a lot of problem. And it was some of the problem that I had in the church that I chose to rejoin, right? Because when I just came there, not knowing that their beliefs are so different and so on, right? And when my pastor for the first time told me that they're a holiness church and so forth, I wish I had known from before, and I wish I had known and gotten a proper definition of what holiness means for them. Because while I agree that Christians should be holy, my definition of holy and their different definition of holy is two different things. You understand? Their definition of holy, it would seems to me like it's almost at reaches heaven itself, right? A tall ladder. That's a form of holiness that couldn't work for me, right? And which I wish I had known from before. This holiness would probably requires you not wearing these things, right? And maybe even wearing stylish hat and so forth, and a number of other things. That form of holiness would never work for me. It is diabolically opposed to my ministry in and of itself. For me, that's legalism, right? And I know I mentioned even in more than once how much I'm against legalism. So if I had known these things, I most likely would not have joined. But here's the problem. Here's the problem now. When I just came back into the church, right? My pastor gave some praises which I had wished he didn't do, because those praises dug a grave for me, even though that wasn't his intent, and I talked to him about it and tell him that he made a big mistake in doing so. But he did it, and I believe that created barriers between me and a lot of the brethren, especially the young persons. Most of you probably know that the best thing that can happen to a Christian is to be acknowledged by their pastor, their dear pastor, whom they love so much. Can you imagine he might have never said the things that he said about them, and then he now is going to say this to almost a stranger who had disappeared from them for more than, for perhaps about, who had disappeared from them for perhaps about over 10 years, actually 10 to 15 years since I departed from them. And you're going to say this to him, this guy? He created enemies for me without even realizing, because from then on, it was always a struggle for me to basically become close with most of the young persons there. Not all of them, but most of them is like, I don't know, guys. Even when I was a part of their WhatsApp group, when I would like post or do anything in the group, when other persons will respond, they don't respond to me. I try different methods and send funny stuff, because I see they send funny stuff and others laugh. And then when I realize when I send it, nobody laugh. that is not a coincidence at all, right? So, and then it stretches further to the elders too as well. Like even in their Bible study group, when they used to have it online, and I remember more than once, I chip in and say, this is not so, giving proper context of stuff and so on. And of course, nobody never raised any opposition because I guess they realize that what I'm saying is true. But it's like in my spirit, I could feel, it's like I felt in myself that I did something wrong. It's like there was a spirit in me where that was telling me that no, this wasn't well received. And what I believe, is because as a youngster, correcting an elder, I thought that I might have brought some embarrassment or something to the person, even though I never said it in any way to embarrass them, right? But I guess I might have crushed some egos or tickled some egos, and as a result of that, guys, it's like I could just feel some sort of energy sometimes, so much so that when they started to have Bible study, I started to ignore it and don't say a word. Right? Even if I see something that is to be corrected, I say, you know what, I'm going to leave it alone because I don't want anybody to carry any bad belly and so forth for me. So these are some of the things that was basically leveled against me. And I appreciate though that they did share my first video, right? My very first video coming out of Adventism, but that was the first and last support that I ever would have got. Even though I'm thankful for it, I've never received any form of support like that ever again since that day, right? Now, I would often notice that they support just about everything else that other persons do. Whether it be other church brothers and so on, they would share their videos on YouTube videos and ordinary videos, voice note, what have you, IG videos and so on. But never, not even once, they would share anything related to what I am doing. Right? And when I ask questions pertaining to my ministry just to get some feedback, like what they think, because I wanted persons to give me criticism, because I needed to know what I'm doing, if it's connecting and so on. So it's like I'm basically seeking opinion. And I realized when I asked them, no one responded. As a matter of fact, I asked my pastor to respond to one of my videos before. I showed him it. And I still got no response from him up until this day. Perhaps he had forgotten. But I'll give him a pass though, because I know that pastors' life are busy, even though I could very well be giving an excuse for him. But I'm still giving him a pass. Right? So he never responded to the video. None of them don't respond to my video. But here's the problem. They would oftentimes, a few of them, not all, would give some form of impression as though they are interested in what I'm doing. Right? But I soon found out that this may have not been the case, and that it's almost as if they were playing some pretend game. And not only were they playing some pretend game, but not only were they playing some pretend game with me, but while they're not supporting what I'm doing, I'm often asked to support just about every single thing that they are doing. So coupled with something that looks like hypocrisy, I'm also led to feel as though I am being used, right? Because they're asking me for support and they're not returning the favor. And I'm also led to feel undervalued and underappreciated because, as I said, I've had to force myself, feel like I'm forcing myself into them, and especially the young people, right? And coupled with that, receiving discouragement from, as I tell you, one elder who is no longer with us, and there was another elder who basically shared me then, so to speak, in their WhatsApp group. Of course, I told my pastor about all of these things, right? And the problems that I was having. And what he told me is that I should basically wait and give it time, be patient with them, and so on. But what he was saying to me, I later on started to wonder in myself if I might have been future fate, right? That's a term, a psychological term. It's oftentimes applied to persons in narcissistic relationships and so on. But it's not only applicable to intimate relationship, You can be future fake by just about anyone. A family member, a church brother, church sister, co-worker, your girlfriend, boyfriend. It's not limited to just intimate relationship. I'll post the link in the comment section that will tell you what future faking is like. Future faking is, in simple term, is basically promising someone something that you in yourself know you will never offer. Either you know that it's not achievable, right? or you don't plan to really give them, but you just create an impression as though you are going to get this when you know in fact that it's not going to happen. It's a way to basically inspire hope into an individual and to basically control him, because you lead them on a false hope, right? That they're clinging on to. And as long as they're clinging on to this false hope, you can still get some connection with them, because they're keeping connected to you with the hopes of realizing what it is that you said is supposed to happen, right? Perhaps through you or something. So it's called future faking, right? So you can probably present, let's say boyfriend and girlfriend. Girl presents herself as the most awesome thing, right, you will ever have, and tell you what wonderful it will be to be with her and so forth, only to find out in soon into the relationship you realize that what she's saying seems very far from the truth. But each time she continue to inspire hope, and you know that it's no such thing. Over time you're realizing that what she's saying about it being wonderful with you and her, it doesn't seem like it's wonderful so far, or it's ever going to be. So future faking is something that can keep you locked with either a person or a group. You can be future fake by your boss, inspiring hope, letting you feel like you're going to get some promotion or whatever, when they know that you're never going to get any such thing. But they do it to manipulate you in order to get you to work. That is what future faking is, in simple terms. But I may be wrong, but I was led to believe that I'm being future fake, because I took his advice and I was waiting. I really was waiting. I waited at least 2 years, guys. I communicated my issue with him a year after being with them, and I waited another year and I saw no change. What all I'm seeing is that the same things that I spoke to him about, as I seen it just being thrown at me again and again and again and again. And it reached a point that I said to myself, no, Kisma, it really feels like I'm clinging on to a false hope. It seems like I'll never be accepted, right, for who I am and what I am about. And it seems also that I'll never get support from them. This is what it actually seemed like. And I'm not angry that I don't get support from them or the acceptance from them. What I'm angry about is being led on and the hypocritical game. I would have appreciated that I was told from early, especially by the pastor, that such a thing is not going to work. And I don't know, maybe my pastor genuinely wanted things to work out, but I believe that he really never understood my ministry and what I'm about. So maybe he wasn't deliberately leading me on a false hope, right? But because he's not in tune on my channel, and that's one of the things, because if he was, he would probably see that my belief system is diabolically opposed to theirs. But he's not. Like the rest of them, he doesn't business about, well, I don't want to say he doesn't business. Perhaps he doesn't have the time, or he doesn't make the time to look at basically what I'm doing. So if he had, he would know my messages that it's different from this, because I had to find out that my belief system is different from theirs on my own over time, hearing what persons are saying. That's how I got to know. And one of my co-workers is a former member of theirs, and she also told me that, yeah, they don't believe that. And that was why she's no longer a part. And I was shocked when she was telling me, because I never knew these things. You understand? So maybe he wasn't leading me on purposefully, but I just wished I had known, right, that I wasn't going anywhere with them, that I can just be on my merry way rather than waste my time. Because the 2 years that I spent with them, if I had used that 2 years in a church that understood and accept my ministry, all things religious would probably have more subscribers right now. So that decision of mine turns around to basically bite me. Imagine that, I'm choosing to build up the church, right? That basically brought me to Christ. Use my talents and so forth to build them up. And it ended up biting me at the end of the day. And granted, I don't really have much to gain, from them. You know, I wasn't even looking to gain anything from them. I have more to gain from Dr. Baldwin, honestly, you know, than them. But I chose them because I'm a part of their. I just feel the connection with them, and this is what I end up get at the end of the day. This is what I basically end up get at the end of the day. And guys, it threw me over the edge, right? When I realized the truth that I was basically wasting my time with them, and for a period of time I started to mourn heavily about the decision that I made. Why I'm mourning is because I'm thinking about all things religious, and I'm saying to myself, all things religious is failing because of the decision I made in basically being a part of them, clinging on to a false hope that will basically never be realized, right? And so there was the former SDAs who is basically discouraging me, and then you find some of them are part of the church discouraging me. Then they made me look like, I don't know, the underappreciation and the undervalue or devaluing, so to speak, of what I was feeling from them. My mind is somewhat all over the place while I'm speaking to you. I'm not even sure if I'm using proper grammar. But anyways, what I felt from them, guys, coupled with some former Seventh-day Adventists, right, who was basically discouraging me openly, right? And then when I think about the fact that I had to be forcing myself on them, primarily the young people, and that's something that I don't normally do. But I try to lower my pride more than once to do it, and still realize that it's not working, so I say to myself, I'm going to stop, right? Because I shouldn't have to be lowering my pride for professed Christians, and feeling like I'm being used, asking all the time to support them in whatever they do, and they care zero about what I am doing. Feeling like like I might have been future faked. Feeling like some persons is basically being hypocritical with me, acting like they're interested in what I'm doing, asking me questions pertaining to my ministry and so on, and yet still I still don't see them ask the support. I still don't see them support. And what I learned from that, you know, is that nowadays I'm very careful with what I tell people, because I know for myself, you know, that when persons ask the questions, sometimes it's not genuine. Sometimes they have ulterior motives, and you think it's because they care either about you or whatever you're doing. That's not the case. I learned that from them, right? I had to learn that the hard way, and I learned that from them. And to have my ministry invalidated, what I do invalidated by them too as well. One of the elders then primarily basically shaded me, as what I told you. It's like I just felt the bad energy coming from them, and then I don't live alone, you know. I live with my mother, and my mother is not a Christian. My mother thinks this is a utter waste of time, because it's not like it's going anywhere. I'm not gaining any money or anything from it as far as she's concerned. It's not booming or what have you, and she would rather me use my time and either further myself in education, which I plan to do, and or try to find some way to earn money, because this is a waste of time. So getting discouragement from even my mother, but I'm not angry at her, because if Christians are discouraging me, what can I expect from a non-believer? It would be unfair for me to expect anything else from her if Christians, professed Christians, are basically discouraging me, right? So I don't have that from families, you know, the support from family, right? So it's like I feel a lot of persons support what I do, you know, but I'm just saying that who I want to get the support from, I'm not getting it from them, and it's not as strong as I would have liked. So realizing that I can basically use my time to basically get what I lost by being in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and I choose to use my time to do this, and trust me, YouTube is no light work, right? And to see that so much is basically being leveled against me, guys, it's almost as if they made me feel as though I'm doing an evil work. Right? I could be out there doing so many things and I'm choosing to defend the truth. And it's almost as if it's a problem. Can you imagine how that made me feel last year? I was basically, when I say I was losing it, I was really losing it, guys. And then, guess what? There was also a fake friend that I basically discovered in last year as well. I don't even want to talk about it, because that fake friend is a Christian, and that person calls me brother, right? And I feel as though even that friend is basically using me. It's like whenever they're in need of anything, I'm the go-to person, but I can't go to them, right? They're not even, they don't even care about basically what I am doing, so to speak, to whether offer any support to me personally in my ministry or whatever, they don't care. But whenever they want anyone to go to, I'm always someone who that person will always come to. And they call me brother. And this individual doesn't even know that I know some of the things that they have done and are doing now. Because it's a technology, is basically an exposer of falsehood, And in simple ways, technology can expose you without even you knowing. So the very technology basically exposed that individual in my sight, right? And I'm not even going to say how the technology exposes them, right? But I was so shocked when I saw what I saw, and I felt a bit down, because I'm saying to myself, how can someone be so fake? I've never experienced anyone so fake in my life before, and worse from a Christian, and add all of what I'm getting from the church that I just mentioned, who are professed Christians, right? From what I got from the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and then this professed Christian fake friend, and to add to that, right? The house issues is normal, right? But to add to that, I was also coming through a period of breakup. For twice, I've been in a long-term relationship, right? And this is also something that I hinted on in my video titled "The Request for Prayers," but I said that I'm not going to say that there is one element of why I'm in the situation I'm in, which I'm not going to speak about, right? So that was it, the relationship issue that I'm going through that I never spoke about. And it's not that I'm hurt, over the relationship, because if you're a person is just not to be, and him just not to be, you can't force things. I'm not really hurt over it. What I'm hurt over is, I spoke before about my greatest issue, the flesh, right? And so I've been working towards fixing that, and my solution that I saw is marriage. And for twice, I reconvert in 2015 back into the Seventh-day Adventist Church, left in 2018, still held on to my Christian faith. So I've been going 6 years strong. 6 years, and I never imagined that in 6 years, I still would be single. So when I tell you that the breakup cut me as well, not that I'm lamenting over the individual, I'm lamenting over the time lost. Right? I remember, I have a high sex drive, guys. And I'm not ashamed to say it. I have been burning for the longest while. So, all of that too, everything that I mentioned before plus that, I got so enraged with God, and I'm saying, God, I take my time to basically do your work, and I could be doing several other things, and I'm getting fight from the church, from my own church, right? And the spirit of ecumenism that I see in the body of Christ collectively tells me that I'm going to have a hard time with my ministry. And then having a fake friend in my life, then, so to speak, who is calling me brother, and they don't act like a brother, they more act like an enemy. And now this, you couldn't even tell me that this relationship is not for me, and I'm not going anywhere. Right? And you know I'm in a condition of burning. Guys, the way I felt, I was literally thrown in the toilet. I tell myself that I'm done with this. It doesn't look like the Christian thing is working for me. There are too many hypocrites in the church. there are too many wicked people in the church. I started to denounce the church, and I was basically close to basically denouncing God and Christ. I was throwing in the toilet and I'm saying, God, you're giving me too much. This is too much for one person to bear. Hurt by church once, hurt by church twice. How would you feel if you to know that a church group is basically using you, or a church group is probably future faking you, a church group is pretending with you, or a church group, right, is jealous over spiritual gifts? And even though that happens, Paul writes about it in 1 Corinthians 12 and 13. It does happen. And that is why my pastor did me great injustice in praising me in the midst of the brethren. So the jealousy that comes from Christians, fake friend who is a Christian, and no relationship, oh gosh, I was throwing in the toilet, guys. I said to myself, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm going to stop waiting and letting my flesh go undergoing so much pressure. I'm just going to carry out my desires then, so to speak, and don't care whatsoever. Because it seems like God doesn't care about me, right? And He's giving me more than I can bear, and I just can't do this anymore. And for a period of time, for a long time, y'all didn't hear anything from me for where all things with is concerned. I was absent for months. This is something most of you didn't know. The things that I was going through in last year. A few former SDAs saved me though. In reaching out to me, a couple persons reach out to me and say, Kismar, what's going on? And so forth. How we're not hearing anything from you. And that was what made me realize that I am still valued and appreciated by many. And that my ministry, irrespective of how small it is still impacting lives. I got aid, right, from persons from other churches and so forth. Right, friends I made from other churches basically support what I do. As a matter of fact, the person who, the intro that you always see, it is created by a friend of mine from another church. So these are the things that basically helped put me back on my feet, recognizing that irrespective of the fact that I don't have as much support as I want, I still have persons who are down for me, who are genuine. But what my problem was is that I am seeking approval and validation from persons who are not basically going to give it to me. Rather than look to persons who already acknowledge me and give me the validation then, so to speak, I'm seeking it from them. And I guess it's human nature. We want to be acknowledged by persons who we are acquainted with more, right? And persons who we love and so forth. It is them that we want to be acknowledged from. But hey, Jesus said, a prophet is not without honor except by his own countrymen. So strangers oftentimes give you more support than your friends, your family, and persons in your immediate circle. That is how life is, and I had to learn that the hard way. Right, so these things help get me back on my feet. When I think about the Apostle Paul and all of them, how they were basically being fighted by their very own, I'm saying to myself, Kismar, who are you to not basically receive the same? And others before me received that. And that was what actually got me back on my feet. It seems the battery is down, but as I was saying, that was what basically got me back on my feet, guys. Yeah, those the encouragement from persons who basically reach out to me. Now, in getting back on my feet, the issue of sexual desire is basically still there. And I said to myself, rather than lamenting over that wasted time that I lost, right? Even though there's a lesson that I learned from it, rather than lamenting over it and give up, telling myself that I can't manage anymore, I'm just going to find some girl and have sex, that was where my mind was basically going. Rather than lamenting over it, why not learn from it and continue to fight and go on? Continue to fight, and the remedy that I have provided for myself is my ministry. To become so invested in it that I scarcely have time to think about sex. I know that if I should for once try to stop this, guys, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to hold out. I need this ministry to basically keep my mind invested until the time comes that the Lord provides a wife for me. So this is my escape route, you know. Guys, I'm coming from a place where I have sex all night. That's where I'm coming from, a place where I would literally have sex all night and a couple rounds on top of it. So when you understand that, that's where I'm coming from, and to be reduced into not having a sex partner for 6 years, not having a long-term sex partner for 6 years, guys, the struggle is real. But I'm saying this to you, that if any of you have experienced church hurt, do not give up. It is natural. There are many of us have gone through church hurt before. But just understand this, that the church, it is not perfect. Perfect people is not in the church. Just as you and I are not perfect, it's unfair for you to look to other Christians to be perfect. So what are you going to do? No longer look at the church, look above where Jesus is. That's the only way, because if you look at church, you're going to resent church and you'll probably give up your faith. Right? So just keep your eyes fixed on Jesus. If you're hurt by a particular church, there's always the option to find another church rather than give up on church totally. Right? And on top of that, let me just say this. And you know what? I'm not even going to say it. I'm basically going to end this video. Right? I'm going to have a follow-up video like this come next week. So do look out for it. Do look out for it, I should say. Now if you enjoy this video, you know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. And with that being said, before I even say bye-bye, you former SDs and all of you who basically help encourage me and get me back up on my feet, I do thank you so much. Ajane, you know yourself. Sashana, you know yourself. Let me see if I can remember some more names. I'm calling out some names personally. Right? Who else? Who else there is? I don't want to miss anyone, you know. Dr. Clinton Baldwin, Elston Lariston. There are some former SDs. I'm not sure they would appreciate me calling out the name, because they tell me secretly that they don't want to be exposed. So let me leave it at that. If there's any other name that I would have forgotten, maybe you will see it on the screen. So thank you very much, guys, every single one of you who made All Things Religious what it is today. The encouragement that you guys give. Oh, and the A, my brother, you know yourself, a popular commenter, right? And Ezra, you know yourself as well. You guys are simply the best. Continue to support, guys, and continue to pray me up. Bye.